If you like my videos, please subscribe and ring the bell so that you get a notification whenever I upload. Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I am a voice teacher. Today I will be reacting to and analyzing Sting performing If I Ever Lose My Faith in You for the Tiny Desk Home Concert Series. Rolling. Gosh, that's a lot of cables.
You could say I lost my faith in science, progress. You could say I lost my belief in the Holy Church.
So I like Sting a lot. My mom likes Sting a lot. I think he's a really great musician. He's got an interesting voice. It's not always clean all the way through. Like with what he's doing right there, there are times that it kind of cuts out. There are times that it doesn't cut out. That's a big part of his style. But I like that he's not overcompensating from that. That whether it's from age or style, I think it's mostly just a style thing because you hear recordings of him through his whole career and he sounds pretty similar to this. I can kind of hear a little bit of just tiredness or extra like fatigue on the voice, but it doesn't bother me. And I love that even with that, he's not forcing anything. He's not increasing the pressure to try to make sure that everything stays belty or anything. And it's because it's quiet. Like it doesn't need to sound like that. And it gives him a lot of room to grow as the song continues.
You could say I lost my sense of direction. You could say all of this and worse would if I ever lose my faith in you. There'll be nothing left for me to do.
Good. So some parts of it are a little bit off pitch, but it works. I think it all works together. It does make me wonder, like, could he or does he do a warm-up technique based on where he is today? Just because like there's enough of it that's just barely off. And without discounting how much I like this, because I do legitimately like this, but when I am doing these videos, I try to put myself in the position of if this person was in front of me, how would I warm them up? What kind of things would I work on to try to make sure that they are going to be able to have continued success at whatever part of their career they're at? It would make me just wonder, like, what's his routine like at this point? Does he do any specified vocal work? Because if he doesn't, you know, I think that it could benefit him.
You could say I lost my belief in our politicians. They all seem like game show hosts to me. If I ever lose my faith in you.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound like it's rolling over up into his head as much. It sounds like he's pulling some of the feeling of chest voice up, which tells me like maybe the vocal folds aren't stretching and coming together as well as they maybe once did, which can be a result of fatigue over a long time. I'm hesitant to say injury. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose stuff like that. But if I heard someone singing like this, I would ask them to get an ENT visit. I would ask for them to get a scope done, so that we could see on film, like, oh, this is where you're at right now. Just to make sure, because like you can sing for a long time. You can sing as you age, but we have to treat the instrument that's in front of us, not the instrument that we had 20 years ago.
There'll be nothing left for me to do.
Sounds good.
Hey, hey.
I love those teeny pianissimos he does. It's so gentle. It sounds beautiful.
I could be lost inside their lies.
Good.
Without a trace. But every time I close my eyes.
Yeah, and then when he goes into that tone a little bit more, because it is a musical expression. Like he at the beginning, when I was much more critical, he wasn't going as loud because he needed to give himself room to grow. it wasn't as stable because it wasn't as balanced. This might be a little bit... I think it is a more stable sound, obviously, which is why it was tuning a little bit better, and it's had more consistent vocal fold closure, which just gives a totally different quality to the sound. My only issue is the first one is harder to tune. And it's like, whether it's happening because of imbalanced technique or because of fatigue or injury or something, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Like, you treat it the same way of how can we balance those volumes and those tonal qualities a little bit better to make it more reliable. As soon as he goes to this, like, I think that there might be an argument that he's overshooting the mark, that it's a little too pressed, which might lead to more of the first one. That said, like, I think it sounds really nice to have that variety, and it's really nice to see kind of the proof of that was a lot more direct on pitch.
I see your face, never saw no miracle of science. I didn't go from a blessing to a curse. Never saw no military solution.
I also love how minimal he's moving his mouth. Minimally. He's barely moving at all. Like, once he's in that position, his tongue is doing most of the work, but his jaw's not chewing on anything. At any part of the range, try to minimize how much movement you have, especially of your jaw and of your lips, because if it gets too chewy, it just alters the sound too much. So letting the tongue do most of the work, and then the lips do some of the work, and then the jaw do a little bit of the work, but only really... because, like, at certain parts of your range, you need more space between your tongue and your roof of your mouth, which can only happen by the jaw coming down. We basically minimize all of that movement, only using the most efficient path between different vowels.
It didn't always end up as something worse, but let me say this first.
Good. So on that one, I think if he had thought a little bit more C on the C, let me see this first. See, it just kind of tunes over. I'm not going to argue and say that what I just did was better. I'm just going to say that that might get him more on pitch with that section, because that vowel shape that he did, it's just a little bit under, just a teeny bit under pitch.
If I ever lose my faith in you, there'll be nothing left for me to do. If I ever lose my faith, if I ever lose my faith, if I ever lose my faith, if I ever lose my faith in you, in you, in you, in you. If I ever lose, if I ever lose my faith, if I ever lose, if I ever lose my faith.
I think he's a musical genius and just a songwriting genius in general, like one of my favorite songwriters. When he went to the clearer sounds, when he asked for it to be a little bit louder, it was more on pitch. It was more stable. It's going to be easier for him to sing like that repeatedly in the future. What I'm hearing mostly is that, like, there are times that he is singing in a very balanced way, but there are other times that you see some extrinsic muscles getting involved in his neck. There are some times where you hear all of this extra breath sound, which breathiness is not inherently bad. The problem is if breathiness is our default and all of these other muscles kind of compensate for that, because it's not easy to do. Like, singing breathy and consistent is a very difficult thing to do, and so the body kind of rebels against it. And so I'm hearing more of that kind of thing, where I think that if he warmed up starting in that really together clear place, and I'm not saying he doesn't, But like, that's what I would ask him to do if he said, Sam, please, I need you to warm me up. That's kind of what I would do with it, is just start from a more moderate volume and then do a lot of crescendo exercises, trying to get quieter without really losing the quality of sound. Because, like, it's obvious, I don't want to change his vowels tremendously. I really don't, and I don't think that we need to. It's mostly just the resistance at the vocal fold level and reducing extrinsic tension. And I think that if we focused on those kind of things, it would lead to a more consistent product, to a more predictable sound, and just more than that, it would just lead to being a little bit more perfectly on pitch throughout. That said, like, most of it was on pitch. I'm not saying that Sting can't sing. I'm not saying that Sting has bad pitch, because that is absolutely not true. Sting has better pitch than I do, I guarantee you. But like, some of those were a little bit off, and that's fine. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and ring the bell so that you get notified of my videos as soon as they come out.